Sean Payton goes to the Denver Broncos. They trade a first and a second, get a third back, and they get Sean Payton. So they're giving up 3 firsts, 3 seconds for Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. And they just signed Russell Wilson to this long extension. And we know Russell Wilson did not have a good 22. We've been poo-poo on him, right? Like, I mean, it smells better in here. And it probably smells better than Russell Wilson's house because it's been real stinky over there lately. And I don't even want to participate walking through that front door because I don't know what I'm going to walk myself into. But right now, guys, I'm going to say Russell Wilson is a buy in Dynasty Fantasy Football. And, obviously in Superflex, everybody's a buy. But when you look at Russell Wilson, you look at a couple things. You're looking at a guy who's got longevity at the position because they signed him to such a huge contract. So you're getting 3 years of Russell Wilson no matter what. And 3 years of any player in Dynasty, that's such a long time because if you look at your Dynasty rosters 3 years ago, they're so drastically different, not only yours, but across your league and your league mates as well. Mm-hmm. So that's a really good run alone. It will probably extend the full contract to full 5 years. And Russell Wilson was a player that in the Seahawks was very successful. 9 Pro Bowls in his first 10 season, 4th best win percentage among all NFL quarterbacks. And Sean Payton's a really respected NFL coach. I mean, what Sean Payton is really known for, guys, is, he's been considered a QB whisperer, right? A QB guru. And it goes back way back to when he first came in the league, when he even got hired as the Jets. He was there as offensive coordinator for 3 years in 2000, just 3 years. And that's when Kerry Collins was the quarterback. And out of those 3 years where he was there, Kerry Collins had 3 of the best, most productive seasons of his career with Sean Payton as quarterback. When it came to completion percentage, touchdowns, those were all under Sean Payton. His stint was very, very good. 15 seasons, led him to a Super Bowl victory. He was also the offensive coordinator when Bill Parcells was in Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys, and he's the one that really helped Tony Romo get ready in the NFL there right before he left the transition to become a good quarterback, and he went on to be a star quarterback. And then, of course, you have Drew Brees. When he goes to the Saints, him and Drew Brees arrived at the Saints in 2006. And the one thing with Sean Payton, I'm going to say a lot of people think like, well, yeah, he just had Sean Payton. And I'm a big Drew Brees, guys. Drew Brees fan. I got his helmet. I got his in my living room over there in my basement on my wall. I got his jersey. I was a huge fan of Drew Brees coming out of Purdue. I drafted him his rookie year in our Dynasty League as well when he came out. I was just a really big Drew Brees fan. Led to me be a Chargers fan as well because of Drew Brees. But, when Drew Brees was in LA or San Diego at the time, he wasn't a star quarterback. I mean, right. So much so where they had the draft, they traded up to get Phillip Rivers. It wasn't until his very last season and he looked okay, but still he was just okay at that point. Obviously, that last game of his career in San Diego, he tore his labrum, goes to the New Orleans with Sean Payton. And of course, the rest is history. But Payton's had a really good rapport with quarterbacks and really finding out what they do and what they do well. And he's already been on national television saying what he could do to help Russell Wilson. And he stated that, he wants to use his strengths, accentuate them to the fullest. And that's what Sean Payton does and what his offense does, because he runs that West Coast offense. And what Sean Payton likes to do is he likes to find what's the best thing that his players can do. He has that defense. It's a horizontal defense, quick passing game, very methodical. And he likes to get the ball pushed downfield. And that's where Russ Wilson excels, right? Like pushing that ball downfield. We saw it there in Seattle. Not as much over the middle. We saw Drew Brees strive a lot over the middle, not as much Russ Wilson. But Sean Payton's really good at adapting to what he has. We saw it with Taysom Hill. We saw it with Drew Brees and all his offenses. And what he'll do is he'll use a lot of different personnel groupings to kind of figure out that defense, to see where they stand, and then he starts to pick them apart to find that success. It's why he's had so much success in the NFL. He did with Drew Brees. Obviously, Russell Wilson's not a tall quarterback as well, but going back to 2019, Sean Payton's offense led the NFL, averaging 10.53 different personnel packages per game. That's according to Next Gen Stats. So that's what he likes to do. Get a feel for the game, come out there and see what does well. We know Russell Wilson was banged up last year as well, so that helped the cause. We saw Jerry Jeudy take a step forward. They have Cortland Sutton. They got Javonte Williams back. Maybe they add, they got Greg Dulcich as well, who looks really good. Tim Patrick, a very solid third receiver. So Russell Wilson has the weapons around him to succeed. And last year, he left a very bad taste in every dynasty owner's mouth, right? It's not a good place to be when you look as bad as Russell Wilson did. And that's going to create some kind of a dip in dynasty. Now, does this Sean Payton sign-in increase Russell Wilson's value in some people's eyes? Probably for most. But it can also, Matt, though, look as like a scapegoat, right? Like for people to get out from Russell Wilson, like, oh man, this Payton news is the perfect thing I need. The window's open. I'm about to put the pie on the windowsill because who's going to be the first one to come get a nibble? And, and I'm just saying, I'm coming to get a nibble. And I've never been a Russell Wilson fan whatsoever, but I really like, all that bad. We have to see regression here with Russell Wilson. So he went from being almost unbuyable and untradeable to I'm starting off right now in Superflex League. I'm offering a first and a second to see if that can get that deal done because all quarterbacks are coveted. And right now we have a quarterback that might be in a very good position to finish as a quarterback 1 next year or possibly a high-end QB2, which is still a top 30 overall player.
Yeah, and obviously there are a few things that you mentioned in there that are all good things for Russell Wilson. The things that I like the most, are the fact that he's going from a first-time head coach that really just looked like he was in over his head from basically day one to a guy that's been there, done that. He's going to have a plan. He knows how defenses are, in the NFL operate and try to attack offenses, and he'll have a plan to especially for a guy that's let's say a similar size to a Russell Wilson. He's been there and done that. He knows how to get those kind of guys on the move if necessary, or lanes to throw the ball. So I think all that is going to be good for Russell Wilson. So going from a guy that more or less was just in and over his head in Nathaniel Hackett to Sean Payton, I think is huge for him. I think the value is going up, and I don't think it's where it was before. So I think this is still a good buying opportunity for Russell Wilson. But the longer I think you wait, the closer we get to the season, the more hype there's probably going to be around this entire offense. That price is just going to keep climbing. So you're going to want to get in now. I know it stinks kind of the day after you hear this kind of stuff, putting out an offer, because it's going to obviously pique the interest of the owner. But I think, like you said, the window might have just opened for somebody that sat through a whole year of kind of seeing the bad Russ, and it might have just opened enough for them to go, yeah, I'm ready to get a little bit of a return, but just in case this thing crashes and burns, in case he is completely washed up. So there might be buying opportunities. Obviously, it's going to change. It's going to be league to league on this one, because there's going to be some people that are just like, hey, no, that was a 1-year fluke. I'm not going to give, I'm not going to give any sort of discount on Russ. He's going into a sweet situation now, and his value in my eyes is completely restored. There are going to be some people that think like that, but if the person in your league does not think like that, I think it's a great opportunity to at least try it either way and see if it's a person that thinks, I just want to get out from underneath this guy, because I do think he's going to have a bounce back type of season.
Yeah, I'm fully in support of this too. This was a player that I had as a buy when we were talking about players that we were buying mid-season. I think he was one of the sleeper buy or sells of the week for me. And it was simply because we look at somebody's track record, and Russell Wilson's track record has been phenomenal. I mean, we're talking about a guy that is a perennial QB1, a guy that's even been, top 5 multiple times over the course of his career. He should be in basically the prime of his career, towards the end of his prime, but the prime of his career right now. There's still time left. And you mentioned the contract, which I think that's the biggest thing of all of this. Even if they wanted to get out, there's no way out from this for the Broncos. They have to make this work. And I think that's why they brought in Payton, because it's not like, okay, we can just hit the reset button again. No, we're committed to this for a while. So we have to figure out a way to make this work. And Sean Payton was the best guy.
I'm staring at the numbers right now. $107 million of dead money next year. $85 million of dead money the year after and $49 million of dead money the year after that. So it doesn't like flip and become a savings until 2026 really is when they can save a substantial amount of money by getting rid of him. So they're in it for the long haul here with Russ. He's not going anywhere.
Yep, absolutely.
We've seen in history these coaches get traded where they found success and take their teams to the Super Bowl, with Bruce Arians, Bill Parcells, John Gruden. So, Payton's a good coach. He's got a track record of being a really good coach and, getting things done. What's the most you guys would pay for Russell Wilson in a Superflex league right now?
I mean, I liked your suggestion of a first and a second. I don't know that that's going to get it done everywhere. I think if somebody pushed it and wanted a second, I would feel okay doing that as well, like a first and 2 seconds. Two firsts, I think, is probably what like the most likely price is going to be for him. And I would hesitate, but probably do it still.
Yeah, I would do it for sure. They would need to be in the later part of the first. But if it was like, all right, you give me 1-8 and 1-10, and I'll give you Russell Wilson, I would do that all day.
Yeah, I'd be okay with 2 late first. I suppose I can see myself passing on that deal as well. It depends. I guess it really boils down to your quarterback situation because it's not one of those. He's too old to the point where like you can't just trade him and then you could trade him for 2 firsts down the road because every year that goes by that value decreases. He's already I think Russell Wilson 35 already somewhere around.
He's 30. He's 34 and
34?
34 and 71 days.
So he'll be 35 going next year. So that window is not as long as well. As long it's not as long of a career path as you would hope for a quarterback. So 2 firsts for me, I'd have to be in that championship caliber window and need him to succeed. And that's what a quarterback does, though. The quarterback is a player that can give you such a massive influx of fantasy points. Over 300 points, and Russell Wilson's the kind of player with the weapons around him. Big boost to Jerry Jeudy, big boost to Cortland Sutton as well, and of course Greg Dulcich.